I am Reed, I am 27, just an average dude. I've made tons of money mistakes in my 20s, and now I want to share everything I've learned to help you take control of your finances and your life. Alright, so I want to walk you through how I built a net worth of $393,040 as a 27-year-old engineer. And I want to be as transparent as possible about it because I remember being 20 years old, sitting in my college apartment, feeling completely lost about money. I was broke, I had no savings, I was using credit cards to buy stuff I didn't need, and I genuinely had no idea how anyone with a normal job could ever build real wealth. I used to search for videos exactly like this, trying to figure out if it was even possible for someone like me. So if you are watching this and you feel like you are behind, or you are wondering if building wealth is realistic in 2026, I want you to know that I get it. I've been there. And the whole reason I am sharing these numbers is not to flex or compare, because honestly there is zero point in that. There will always be someone richer than you, someone younger than you making more money, someone with $1 million portfolio flexing on social media. If you spend your time comparing yourself to others, you are going to be miserable no matter how much money you have in the bank. I am sharing this because I want to show you what is possible when a normal person with a normal job stays consistent over time. Nothing flashy, nothing magical, just discipline and patience. Let me start with the biggest account, because this one honestly blows my mind every time I look at it. My 401k currently sits at around $217,000. And this is probably the account I am most proud of, because it really shows what happens when you just don't stop contributing no matter what the market is doing. I work for an oil and gas company, and I actually did 3 internships with them while I was still in school, which meant I was able to start contributing to this 401k before I even graduated college. By the time I started working full-time in 2022, I already had about $10,000 sitting in there, which looking back was such a massive head start. Seeing that grow from 10,000 to over 200,000 in just a few years feels unreal, and it makes me so excited to think about what this account could look like by the time I hit my 30s if I stay consistent. Since starting full-time, I've maxed out my 401k every single year, pretty much all the way up to this current year, because I am not going to max it out this year for other reasons. But I get a 6% company match. And on top of that, my annual bonus also gets company matched and contributed into the 401k. So over time, a significant amount of money has been flowing into this account between my own contributions and the employer match. Inside the account, I keep things simple, with roughly 70% in the SP 500 and about 30% in a growth-focused fund that allocation has treated me extremely well over the last few years. Tell me if I am crazy for having that high of a growth percentage, but I just feel like over the next 20 years, growth stocks and growth ETFs are not going anywhere. Sure, there might be a bubble, but my thought is that these are going to be the most powerful and profitable companies in the world, especially with everything going on with AI. As I get older, I rebalance to be more conservative, but right now I am in my wealth accumulation phase and I like where I am sitting. My 401k performance is showing around a 22% annualized return, which is incredible for my first 4 years of my career. A lot of that came from tech growth combined with consistently dollar cost averaging during some of the major market dips. I'll admit I got a little lucky with timing, because my annual bonus contributions happened to hit my 401k right around some of the lower points in the SP 500, which ended up working out really well. That was totally random timing, but it is another reminder of why consistently investing, no matter what the market is doing, can pay off huge over time. I had no way of predicting the market, but it just worked out in my favor. Then, as part of my retirement accounts, I also have $19,996 in company stock that will vest in 2028. Hopefully that goes up too. This was something new I earned through work last year, so it is an awesome boost to the portfolio. My next biggest account is my taxable brokerage account, which currently sits at around $50,000. And this account has honestly given me a lot more flexibility compared to my retirement accounts. Unlike a 401k or a Roth IRA, where there is contribution limits and age restrictions on withdrawals, this is basically my unrestricted investing account where I can keep building wealth outside of retirement-specific accounts. Since I started investing into it, the account has averaged around a 20% annualized return, which again has been helped by strong market performance and staying heavily invested in growth-oriented funds. I really prioritized this account in 2024 because when I relocated for my new position, I received a moving bonus and decided to invest a large portion of that instead of spending it on dumb stuff. Then I used the rest to pay off my car anytime I've gotten extra money, whether it is bonuses, raises tax returns, or unexpected income. Instead of immediately spending it, I funneled a good chunk directly into investments first. Then after that, I save a percentage and go spend some on fun things. You've got to remember, if your goal is to build wealth in your 20s, you have to prioritize investing first and then go have fun with whatever is left. If your mindset is the other way around, it is just going to be way tougher for you. Now in 2025 and especially 2026, I've cooled off a bit on contributing to my taxable brokerage. Right now, my main focus is maxing out my Roth IRA first and then building up cash reserves in a high-yield savings account because my fiance and I recently started saving for what we call our kid fund. We want to have kids someday, and we started intentionally setting aside cash for those future expenses. Now, instead of waiting until the last minute, that brings up an important point because personal finance is not always about maximizing every single dollar into the stock market. There are seasons of life where aggressively investing makes the most sense, and there are other seasons where building cash reserves and preparing for major life milestones matter more. For me right now, it is about balancing both building wealth long-term while also preparing for the kind of life we want to build together. Then I also have my workplace pension, which is another solid benefit from working in oil and gas. Right now, the pension is fully vested and sits at around $45,000. I didn't include this in my first net worth video because at the time I wasn't fully thinking of it as part of my assets, but since it is fully vested now, I consider it part of my overall net worth. What is nice about this is that even if I eventually leave the company, that money is still mine and I'd be able to roll it over into another retirement account like a Roth IRA. So I basically look at this as another long-term retirement boost sitting in the background while my other accounts continue to grow. For my high-yield savings account, I currently have around $28,000, and most of this is split between my emergency fund and the kid fund. There is really nothing flashy or exciting about this account. A high-yield savings account is just a great place to park cash that you know you need within the next few years while still earning a decent interest rate. I actually didn't open one until 2023, and looking back, I wish I'd done it way sooner because it is such a simple upgrade. Your money earns significantly more interest compared to a traditional checking or savings account, and it gives you a safe place to build emergency savings without exposing that money to stock market volatility. For my emergency fund, I like to keep 6 to 12 months of living expenses in there. That peace of mind is worth more than people realize. When you know you have a safety net, you can take more calculated risks in your career and your life. My HSA account sits at $19,247 and I've only had it for about 3 years. I really wish I would have opened and started contributing to it during my first year working full-time because at the time I didn't even know what this account was. HSAs are honestly one of the most overlooked wealth-building accounts out there because nobody talks about them compared to 401ks or Roth IRAs, but in my opinion, this is probably one of the best accounts you can have if your employer offers a high-deductible health plan. It is the only true triple tax-advantaged account. Your contributions go in tax-free, the investments inside grow tax-free, and if you use the money for qualified medical expenses before 65, you can withdraw tax-free. After 65, you can use whatever is in there as free cash for anything. There is no other account that gets treated this favorably from a tax perspective, which is why I've made it a priority to max this account every year. This year, I can contribute around $4,400 and my company also adds a match, which makes it even better. I really wish the government let us put more into this account, but it is what it is. Inside the account, I keep a pretty straightforward ETF split between VOHG and SHG, which is pretty much the same split I carry across all my accounts. I've got a mix of broad market exposure, dividend-focused investing, and growth exposure all working together. So far, the allocation has given me around 14% annualized return, which I am pretty happy with. One thing about the HSA is that I pull money out to pay for small medical expenses because I want that money to grow tax-free and compound as much as possible, unless there is some massive medical bill I have to pay, and I don't have the cash for it. I'll leave the money growing in this account. In my mind, this account is future-proofing myself financially for healthcare costs decades down the road while getting tax advantages today. My Roth IRA currently sits at around $13,820. Inside this account, I keep things simple with the same split between VOHG and SHG. You are probably seeing a trend here. The investing strategy that works for me and the ETF allocation that has done me well. I'd rather stick with something simple than overcomplicating it with 100 different stocks. While you do see some of the top companies in SHD inside of VU as well, when tech has a pullback, VU automatically rebalances and so does SHD. I like owning passively run ETFs like these because it makes things that much simpler to manage. I only opened the Roth IRA last year, so it is still one of my smaller accounts, but it has already grown pretty quickly with around a 23% annualized return. Obviously, the market has been really strong, especially with tech and growth stocks, so that has definitely helped. But it is also another example of why getting invested as early as you can matters so much. Even this small account can start snowballing fast, and you just let that compounding interest stack up year after year. One of the reasons I love the Roth IRA specifically is because all that future growth and withdrawals in retirement are tax-free. So every dollar I am putting into this account today has the potential to become significantly more valuable decades down the road without worrying about taxes eating away at those gains. That is why maxing this account out every year has become one of my top financial priorities moving forward. Last but not least is my crypto account, which currently sits at $1135. And the only crypto I own is Bitcoin. I am slowly dollar cost averaging into it over time, and my goal is to build this account closer to around 3,000 by the end of the year. I am not somebody going all in on crypto or gambling on random meme coins, but I do think there is value in having at least a small amount of exposure to an asset class outside of traditional stocks. And the US dollar, my mindset with Bitcoin is pretty simple. If it ends up continuing to grow long term and has another massive run like we've seen in the past, then I want at least a small piece of the pie instead of sitting on the sidelines completely missing out. But at the same time, I am also very realistic about the volatility and risk, which is why I keep my allocation relatively small compared to my overall portfolio. If Bitcoin tanks tomorrow, it is not going to derail my financial future or wreck my net worth. That is intentional. I'd rather treat it as a smaller high-risk, high-reward position alongside the stable foundation of ETFs that I own. Now, I know some people don't include their car as part of net worth, and technically I understand the argument because vehicles are depreciating assets, but I am personally going to include mine since it is completely paid off and still holds decent value. Right now, my car is worth around $18,000. Having a paid-off vehicle has been huge because I haven't had to deal with a monthly car payment in a while. That extra cash flow every month makes a massive difference when you are trying to max out retirement accounts, build your investment portfolio, or save for other goals. Looking forward, cars are definitely something I want to approach differently. My goal is to save up and either pay cash for future vehicles or at least put a large down payment on the next one. I plan on driving my current car for probably another 10 years if I can because I'd much rather keep investing money than constantly resetting the clock with another expensive auto loan. I think there definitely comes a point where upgrading your vehicle makes sense, especially if you are constantly dealing with breakdowns, expensive repairs, or reliability issues. If you are dumping thousands into maintenance every year and stressing every time you turn the key, there is an argument for buying a reliable used car or even new depending on interest rates. Having a reliable vehicle brings peace of mind, and not constantly worrying about your car breaking down has real value too. For me, it is less about never buying a nice car and more about making sure my car decisions don't destroy my ability to build wealth. Long term, the only debt I currently have is my student loans, which sit at $20384 with a fixed interest rate of 4.4%. Right now, my strategy is not to aggressively pay these off. Instead, I am making the minimum monthly payments while continuing to prioritize investing. The way I see it, I've already received the value of my engineering degree because it helped me land a career that significantly increased my income. And with the interest rate being relatively low on these loans, I believe my money has a better chance of growing long-term through the market instead of rushing to wipe out this debt. That being said, I completely understand why some people choose to pay off debt first. There is definitely peace of mind that comes with being debt-free. Mathematically, paying off a 4.4% loan is basically like getting a guaranteed 4.4% return, which is still solid and has little risk. So there is no right or wrong answer here, but for me, I'd rather focus on building investments, maximizing retirement accounts, and letting compounding work as early as possible while I am still young.